Got a special lesson today for everybody. Thank you for showing up. Malora Warsui for Moa. As you can see today, we are outside. We have had a very, very trying week this week. We had 2 deaths within the family over the past 2 weeks. Very sad to say. My wife's sister passed away. Also, my dear uncle Bennett from Lauli passed away also 2 days ago. Uncle Bennett was very, very special to our family. Some of the things we're going to be learning here today, my schooling started with my father here at home, and then it was put to the test when I went back to Samoa and lived with in Laui. So I haven't done some of this stuff in a long time, but it's still stuck with me. It's just like riding a bike. You never really forget. So once you start doing it, then it comes back to you. But why don't we get into our regular opening? Wessa, are you available? Wessa? Kainoa, are you prepared to give the prayer this week in the opening?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool. Why don't I do the opening? I don't think we've had anybody practice the closings, the closing as well, and then we'll have Kainoa do our opening prayer. So let's get Tato ifo matatalo. Feta ile atu. Lena tato tupua na wana lofafu. Ya te tato umane. Ia pepe se. Alleluia fafetai. Ia pepe se. Alleluia fafetai.
Tama whaalelangi, mātou te whaawhetai, ia te oi mō le awanoa e ao oina, ai le nganganga Samoa, mātou te ole atu, ia te oi e whaamanuia le whaiaonga i le nei taimi, i le suafa o Yesu Kiriso. Amene.
Amen.
Amen.
Ufilo wanganga. Ufilo wanganga. Anganga sai. Ufi mai. O te no fo fire mu. Bata si mai Yesu. Anganga sai. Ufi mai. Amen. Faftai auto uma. Thank you all for participating with us in our opening sequence. Thank you for those who just have gotten here. Kaliponi and Dana, Faftai olua awina mai. Olua awai mai ile so. Yeah. So I have some visual aids today to help us with today's lesson. Anybody can tell me what this is right here? Anybody seen these before? They're kind of wilted now. They were a little bit fresher earlier. Might help if I stretched it out. What do you call this?
Aloe.
Aloe. What part of the kalo is this?
The leaves.
Lautalo.
Lautalo. Malo. Malo lavo wesa faftai. Tofa tashimele so. The lautalo. What other name do we have for lautalo? We spoke about this in an earlier class. What do we call laukalo, especially when it has to do with preparing food? Same word we use for parties in Hawaii.
Oh, luau.
Wow, very good. Oh. There's a few parts here of the lauluau or the laukalo or the taro leaf. This part right here, has anybody ever eaten a taro leaf when it was not fully prepared?
Mm-hmm.
What happens when it's not fully prepared?
Leaves.
Sorry? What happens when it's not fully prepared?
Mangiso.
Mangeso. What is mangeso? Lalefa parang yung
Itchy.
itchy. So anybody ever do this before where you prepare the taro leaf? I'm going to prepare this one right now. What is the first thing you do?
Take out the tip.
Tip. Why do we take off the tip?
Awingin mangisot kalo.
But this is the part that's got the most of the chemical that makes your mouth itchy. It's concentrated in here, and that's why we remove it. According to Samoan oral history, it resembles an animal that we revered as a tua, a god. So that's why we also removed it, because it resembled that animal. I believe they said it was the fe'e. I'm not sure. I have to go back and look at that. Because it resembles that animal, we removed it. And that's the oral history reason. But according to food preparation, we also remove it because it's the most concentrated point of where the scratchiness comes from. And after that, we remove the stem here. So as you can see here, take the taro leaf or the lauluau. I've got a bunch of them here.
Can't see it.
Can't see it?
Move it back. Okay, perfect.
Yeah. So this is the time where usually we get together as a family. Everybody grabs a leaf and then you take tip off and the stem off. And this is something that I would do with my father when I was young. It was my beginning training. I didn't even know it. And we'd separate them by size here. This is something I do with Uncle Vena a lot. Now these lauluau or laukalo were things that we picked up today at Foodland. But traditionally, me and Uncle Vena would go to the areas behind our home. In the front of our home is usually the ocean. In the back of the home is the mountain, and that's where we usually have our produce center. That's where they have the ulu trees, the taro patches, and banana patches and whatnot. That's where we usually would pick these out. Now, for palusami, the dish that we usually make with the lauluau, you pick what's called the momoy. So when the taro grows, the top of the taro looks something like this with 3 leaves in it right there, 3 leaves. Now, the one in the very center is usually the youngest one. So that's the one we usually pick and collect. These ones, you can't really tell which ones are older and which ones are younger because they were picked and it was done commercially. So I don't think they really took care. But for the purposes of our training today, this is how we would gather the leaf, and then we would do just like we're doing right now. Talk story and either tell the things about what's going on in recent events or past events with family. And this is what I would do with Uncle Vin a lot. Like this is where I learned most of the things I learned about Samoan, thing from the meanings of different words to different oral histories to who my family was. It was doing these kind of things, sitting together, taking the leaves, preparing them, getting ready to make a feast or for whatever family function we were doing. A lot of times we do fundraisers. A lot of times we were doing the Sunday meal. Wesa, can you type up the word tonai in the chat, please? Anybody remember what the meaning of the word tonai is?
Isn't it a family when your family gets together to eat on Sunday?
Yes, completely right. Is there any other meaning to tonai besides that meal? Anybody can tell me the name of Saturday in Samoan?
Aso tuanai.
Aso tonai. Why do they call it aso tonai, Han?
They can prepare the food before Sunday.
And why did we prepare the food before Sunday and not Sunday?
Because Sunday ule aso sa.
Oleale wingale aso sa. What does aso sa mean? I hear my babies in the background. Oleale wingale aso sa dihan.
Aswe ulok.
Anybody know the meaning of the word sa by itself without the day attached to it?
Just at least you can answer.
Couple?
Yeah, it means the
Yes,
couple,
just like kapu. It means restricted, forbidden, off limits. Got a bunch of different meanings in there. But because it was the day that we were taught was to be reserved for no labor, we adopted the tradition of preparing food for Sunday on Saturday. And thus, Saturday became known as the Aso Tonai, the day that we prepare the food for the next day. That's where we're talking about the breakfast being Kiulikayao, but in Samoan, the name was actually Malutayao because our food wasn't prepared hot that day. It was left over from the day before on Saturday. Any questions so far?
Oh,
Has anyone ever done this before?
long time ago.
Who was that?
Petra.
Oh, Petra. Mahalo. Like we said before, Palusami has no meat in it, according to the vocabulary. Palusami is the coconut milk mixed together with salt and onions. And then you wrap that inside of these taro leaves and then cook it inside the umu. Usually when we eat Samoan meals, you have a starch, a meat, and then something to flavor it with. And that's what the Palusami's role is in the meal, is that it's kind of like a sauce. You dip your food in it and it complements the dish, whether it be the taro or whatever meat dish you're eating. Today we're eating this. Anybody know what this is? Kaliponi? Petra?
Yeah, but I can't think of the name. I just had it. I just had it last week. I just cannot think of the it's the word fish.
There's actually multiple names for it, so
Yeah.
you can't go wrong. But yeah.
Eleki? Is that one?
Elengi.
Elengi.
There you go.
Elengi.
Elengi. There's actually Jerome Gray, sorry. Jerome Gray wrote a song about it. due to how popular it was. And it had to do with political reasons as well, because he was talking about the government raising the prices on food in Samoa. Talks about how the price of it is going up to the sky, so high that the angels would see it. Hold on, I lost a couple of leaves. Yeah. Oh, gee. All right. So, like any good cooking show, that was just our display. We actually have a lot more already prepared. So we're not going to spend the entire class doing that. But yeah, this is your usual leftovers here. You got the stems and the tips over here on the side, erengi, and then your taro. And you got a whole meal in the works. The next step with making palusami, these leaves are already washed. I just had to remove the sticky parts. I want to take a nice leaf. This is a good size right here. It's not too big, not too small. And there's not really a hole in there, even though I removed the lay it across my palm. Then I go for the smaller leaves. I like to keep the luau thin so that it cooks well and thoroughly when I'm cooking it. So I've got 1 big leaf, 2, 3, 4 small leaves in there. While I've got that, I've got to make my mixture. This is what we call fa'alifu right here. Fa'alifu is the coconut milk with onions and salt. I'll be right back. I forgot my tools. All right, this is what we call in Samoa onion. Move up. Put that straight into the bowl.
Maosi is another word for elengi pirikaki.
Pirikaki is a different dialect. So American Samoa uses the word pilikaki.
Okay.
And in Western Samoa, or now known as Independent Samoa, it's more well known as elingi.
Okay.
The two words, again, are loan words. So elingi means herring, whereas pilikaki means pilchards, which neither of the names of those fish are actually what's in the can, because the can is mackerel. So I'm sure that there's a Samoanized version of mackerel, but I'm not aware of it right now, and I'm not going to try to. So once it's in there like that with onions, I usually I wear gloves too, but I'm out of gloves today, and I'm not serving food, so it'll be fine. Like a little bit of salt, not too much. It's to taste. So everybody taste it and make the amount of salt that they want. And you just mix it up like so. Kind of the same way of how we palu the ava or palu, like this. Another word we use for mix is saiu. That's more with a spoon though than what I'm doing with my hand. So I'm using the word palu. And I mix it like so, trying to dissolve the salt into the coconut milk. Coconut milk is what we call pe'e pe'e. Pe'e pe'e. Usually with cacao, same cacao that we use for the word of the tattoo, the tau, is the word that we use for squeezing out the milk from the coconut, because it's the same action. We use the tattooing tools to extract the blood from the human. We use the kawanga, or the husk strainer, to remove the liquid from the coconut. So it's the same action, and it gets the same word, tatau. Cacao popo, cacao, the coconut, and you get the pe'e pe'e, which is the coconut milk. Once we've mixed it up like this and the salt is pretty much dissolved in, so you get an accurate taste. Sometimes you mix it up and then the salt's not accurately dissolved, so you think it's not salty enough and you end up making it too salty. And I just taste it like so. A little bit more. Just for this batch, which I'm not going to use today. But that should do it. All right. There. So I've got my fa'alifu mix ready. Wash my hands. And then I've got this here, which is the luau leaves. Kind of makes a bowl already. This is the same one that I showed you guys earlier. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my knuckle into it and then further wrap it so that it's a little bit tighter now. Let's see that there. Let me go turn on the back light. Gonna stay on. Yeah. Somebody else. Sorry, guys. All right, so we've got our bowl, made it tighter. And I just take a small cup. Usually I use a coconut cup, but I don't have one today. Not too much. Yeah, maybe a little bit more. Smell that. And I grab a sheet of foil. I begin to wrap it up. Here, that my liquid stays inside of my leaf. A lot of people like to make it big, but I feel like you got the right amount of ingredients, right taste. Small package with good taste is superior. Like that. Got a little herky kiss, not too overwhelming. So now that that one is done, this next one should be a breeze. And usually when we're going and we're talking story and we're remembering Uncle Vena and the things that he used to do when he was alive. This is something that me and Uncle Vena used to do probably 3 times a week. We had a lot of ulu in our backyard. So our village was in high demand for ulu. Oftentimes we wake up 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, go and get all the ulu that we could, come back to the house, try to make as many of these things as we could, start the fire for the umu. This is usually one of the first steps, I think. You want to have these ready for when the ulu is scraped. And then you're just going to set them on top of the rest of the things that you're cooking. They don't take as much heat or as much time as the rest of it. So those things go on the very, very top of the umu. Up. And wrap. And there you have it, Palusami. So while we've got those ready, and the rocks are usually heating up right now, that's when we start to work on these things. These are what we call miaayaang. These are the starches of the meals that we make. This is kalo, of course, the root of the leaves we were just using. We also use ulu. What else? Tamu, ufi. There's a bunch of different ones. Fa'i. Fa'i is another one we use for starch. First thing I do is cut this very top part off where it was connected to the leaves. That goes there. Makes a nice stand for me over here. This is what in Samoa we call an ashi. Ashi. Short A, ashi. Use the ashi to remove the pa'u from the taro. So when you do it like this, it's called valu. The other way they do it is with a knife, and that's called fishi. Valu and fishi. My village is a valu village. So we're used to scraping the taro. Scratch the taro. Valu also means scratch, like if you're scratching your leg, scratching your arm. But in this case, it means that we're removing skin from our taro. Usually I'm supposed to have a stick holding the taro for me on the ground. This taro is very small. I don't really need it. I'm trying not to shake the table. I don't want you guys to get seasick. Everybody have time to practice their pronunciation and the things that we went over the last few weeks.
Sina A. A. E. O. U. Fa. Na. La. Mo. Nu. Pi. Sa. Ti. Vi. He. Ka. Ro.
Hey, Ray. So what I've got here is Maro Leshina, my little girl.
I was the one who
Fully
wanted
scraped
to.
barrel, nice and clean.
Momo and O for to low.
Oi,
To
Sule.
yeah or Samoa.
Not everybody wraps their starch in foil, but this is how my dad taught me, so I do it out of tradition. And that's ready to go in the oven. And we usually make this thing. Now the same mix that I made here, usually what I do is pour this out, take the bones out, mash up the fish, just like you're making a tuna sandwich. And then you mix it together in here in the same mix that we use for the taro and for the palusami. And then what they call that is fai pikaki, fai eringi. So again, with luau, whenever you make something with the taro leaf, it's luau, faspovi, luau, pua'a, luau, ia, fai pikaki, yes, thank you. Same concept for fai pikaki, fai lingi, fai fe'e. So again, use the coconut milk and the onions together with the octopus and it becomes fai fe'e. Only with that one, they add the ink of the octopus, so it turns purple. Right. Getting a bit dark out here. Reminds me of waking up early in the morning in Lauliki and getting ready to do all of this stuff. We've got our items ready to go into the umu. So by now, the wood is all burned up in the umu. The rocks are red hot. And then we get together and we start to break down the rocks, remove the banana stumps from the side so that the rocks fall down. We flatten it out. Big rocks on the side, small rocks are, yeah, on the bottom, the small rocks and the big rocks on the side. And then you put the big things that you're going to cook on the bottom. The starch there goes on the side and in the holes, that stuff. Cover it up with the rocks. Then you put the smaller things on top. So if you have like banana, palusami, anything that cooks quickly, then those things go in the very, very top. Cover it back up. One layer of fresh leaf, then the fresh leaves. So like cut down the leaves from the ta'amu plant, the giant elephant ear, banana leaf, those kind of things, big leaves. Sometimes we use ulu leaf too if we got a lot of it and they're big. Cover that on top of the umu. And after that layer comes the layer of the old leaves. So if we've previously done an umu, usually that stuff is laid on the side. You bring it back and then you cover over the new leaves with that. And after those things are covered, then usually you take a blanket or a sheet or something that's been old and used, a fala that has been old and used on the side, and then that covers the very last time. Sometimes it's just like a wet cloth. And then while those things are cooking, then someone usually goes, grabs a coconut leaf, and then we start to weave the baskets while we're waiting for the umu to cook. this is something I learned from Uncle Tony and Uncle Vina again, both who have passed away, is that by the time you guys are done weaving the baskets, then the umu should be ready. It should be cooked. And that's how we gauge it. No timers, no watches. It's the length of time it takes to make the basket is the amount of time it takes for the umu to cook. So now we can take our trip and see what our items are supposed to look like. After I love auto, ono sa imay. So, so this here is our kalu. Hi, Sina. After the kalu is cooked, I usually cut it in half. Let it sit, and then you just cut it into pieces like so. See how it goes right through? Nice, firm slices. And that's ready to go. This here is our palusami, steaming for over an hour. I like to steam it because it helps whatever is left of that itchy chemical to drip out.
How long do you cook it for?
Cook it for about an hour and a half at the highest degree.
Steam it when
Yeah.
you steam it.
You can see that there. That's the palusami. And this is what the ilengi looks like once it's cooked. Kind of like a casserole when I do it in this form, but usually you put it inside of a coconut shell. And there you have it. Palusami, kalo, ilengi. Sometimes we cook barbecue chicken on the side. And that's one salmon meal right there. Voila. Onga is ready. Not bad, huh?
Konga is only used on Sundays.
Because it's a term that's become synonymous with the meal, you can use kongai to mean like a meal, like we're gonna have a meal, even if it's on Saturday or a different day. It's the idea of it, but traditionally, historically, that's the correct meaning of the word is the Saturday or the Sunday meal cooked on Saturday. So yeah, if you use it nowadays to say we're gonna get together and eat, that's totally fine. I'm gonna put this on the side. I'm sure my co-host is gonna be hungry later.
We all want to come eat.
I know. You guys are all invited.
Oh, thank you guys. Thank you guys for joining us today. I'm really glad. Something like when something like this happens with a family member, it immediately takes you back to all the time and things with them. Just like Dana's saying in the chat. Like we moved here because there's not many opportunities for work over in Samoa. So we try to keep our identity even though we live out here. And it's been really tough, but that's where I learned who I was back there in Samoa. And it was with Uncle Vena, so that's what makes it super special to me. Hi, baby, yes. Am I sitting on something? It's not under here.
No, that's McDonald's.
It's Donald Duck, it's not McDonald's.
Where did you live again in
Leone.
Samoa?
Laulii.
Lauli.
I'm from Leone. My grandmother was from Laulii, so I spent most of my time in Laulii because that's those two uncles that, or the one that passed away recently and the one that passed away previously. They're pretty much the ones who took me in and trained me in how to be, a man, from boy to man. That's where I learned all that. When I was living in Leone, I kind of just worked at Starkey's. That's pretty much all I did.
Is Leone in American Samoa?
Yeah. Most of my time was spent in American Samoa. I lived in Upolu I spent a few weeks in Fusisaruafata, and then I stayed in Moka'a once, and my wife's family is from Lepea. So we stayed in Lepea, and her father's from Tiuniu, Paleari.
Laulii is somewhere that it's on Upolu, right? Laulii.
There's two. There's a Laulii in Upolu over there by what is that village? Solo Solo. It's by Solo Solo and Salilisi and all that stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Is this Laulii in American Samoa that you talked about?
Yeah, the Laulii I'm talking about is past Aua on the way to Amauli and
okay.
all those east side villages, Whangaikua and all that stuff.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions about what we learned today? about the vocabulary?
No.
I'm only looking at the chat now, so I'm seeing everybody's comments while I was making the food. A lot of people take pride in that like men do the cooking in Chamo and Tonga, I believe. So that's something that is part of our identity, is knowing how to do these things. So it's considered, it's hard for you to get a wife if you don't know how to make the coconut milk and all those things. If you want to talk, turn on your mic. I would love to have you in the conversation.
So malo, was that when you mix, when you massage or mix what does malo mean?
You're talking about lomi? I'm not lomi, palu.
Okay, what is malo in Samoan?
Malo is like, it
good
means
job.
hello. Yeah, good job. Or when you're thanking somebody too, use malo. Malo. Malo ngagwi. Good work. Malo fame ay, malo puka. Oh, you want me? Okay. I'm gonna take a walk. Why don't we bring up the next verse of Savalivali? We're on day 6, so we've only got 4 more classes before we're up on day 10 of the program. We're at 6:50, so we've got a few more minutes here. And then we went over a lot. You guys did really, really great on the pronunciation last week, especially you, Petra, and Roxy. You guys were awesome. That's why I know I got the chance to do the prayer today. Who else needs to go over it? Wesa, are you able to bring up the materials we went over last week? Oh, she's doing that. I'm going to type up the next verse of Savalivali. In fact, I'll type up both verses. Savalivali. Savalivali means go for. Tala. Savalivali means go for a walk. Tala means too much talk. Alofa yache oi means I love you. Take it easy. Fai de mu. Fai le mu. Okay, what is the next verse? Tenemanaya ang. Tenemanaya means pretty girl. Milo means around the world. Whisper to me. Whisper to me.
It's musu musumai means whisper to me.
And I backwards.
It's the song.
I don't think they do the whisper to me first. I think it's whisper to me means, because you gotta rhyme the musu musumai with oya wae means my oh my. Makes sense if you do it the other way.
Mm.
Whisper to me means musu my. Oi away means my oh my. Yes out.
Nice to see.
Oh yeah. Musimana oi la oi malam malam. so yeah, girl.
Yeah.
Tene aulele means pretty girl. Ta'a milo milo means around the world. It doesn't really mean that though, does it?
No.
Stretch of the meaning.
What does it mean?
It just means to roll or turn around.
Kum kanani uma.
Malori boom kanani. Ya koyole kadi.
Uamalieo.
Amario.
She's getting smaller and smaller.
Avane ile malo. Ele faya so loto. Atu ofinanga.
Are you writing in the chat?
Yeah. So you can copy paste. Uliawi.
No, go on. Is it too small?
It'll resize, I think, once you're done typing. Mari karepimya.
My son. Oh, shucks.
Abanga.
Say down, baby. It's pretty girl.
That looks good. You're double spaced though on the paragraphs. See how it's like a smaller space on the kali? You might be able to save some space if you take out the line spacing. I pull it out. That's the other thing about working with taro leaf is that you don't realize it and then you're scratching all over the place because the chemicals all over your face.
Start the song.
Savalivali means go for a walk. Tau tala tala means too much talk. Lofayate oi means I love you. Take it easy, fi ine mu. Tene aulele means pretty girl. Ta'a milo milo means around the world. Whisper to me means musu musu moi. Musu musu mai. Oyawe means my oh my. Wamarie o avane ile malo. Ele faya so loto. Ai tu ulo finangalo. Wah, Shekia.
Maya. It's
Kalipone,
oil.
how many times your husband sing this song to you?
Too many.
Igay lava. Yes.
Where's Daisy?
I don't know, baby.
All right. So this song is it's an easy translated song. I mean, it's very self-explanatory as usual. Savalivali means go for a walk and so on. Now, when it gets down to what's called the chorus, or as we say in Samoan, the tali, Cali, chorus. That's where it gets kind of complicated. Anybody understand what's going on in the chorus over there? That's where the real meat of the song is. It's a very short chorus. It's only got, what, 2 lines in there. Anybody recognize any of the words that are in there? We'll try to break it down word by word. What about wa marie? Oh, anybody understand that line right there?
So agree?
Very good. We agree. Wa marie, oh. You hear it a lot when people are like beginning speeches. Wa marie, oh, wa marie malo. Things like that. Or even when they're going back and forth with the exchanges of falegagana, when people are giving the not the sorry, the back and forth. The C is going back and forth. Yeah, they're saying thank you for the.
Where's Daisy?
You should know. You had all of your stuffed animals. Go and look in the room. I don't have any Daisy, no Donald, no Mickey, no Goofy. Yeah. Yeah, when those are going back and forth, and people will say things like Marie, Sao Faralde. But yes, this way that we say the word right here means that we agree. So what about the next line? What is avane? Anybody understand the word avane? It's related to the words that we studied with the directionals, but it's a directional that we haven't studied yet. Because usually we're used to Lena and Lele. Which person do Lena and Lele refer to? Like which person are we speaking to when we use those two? First, second, or third?
Second.
Second person, awesome. So this one also refers to second person when we say avane. Anybody have any idea what avane means though, in regard to the second person?
Forgive?
Give, very good. What are other words for give besides avane? Avane is kind of a little bit of an obsolete word. You hardly hear it used anymore.
Avatu?
Avatu. Avatu is another one. It's really popular in that song by Punalaba'a. Olea o te ofuina tu aunei. Omea umaute avatu oi moa'u. Avatu. This word is immortalized in that song because it's in the name of the song. And I believe that was the name of the album as well. But avatu is actually an improper word. It's actually it's a compound word made up of 2 words, ave and atu. It's the existence of avatu has actually been scrutinized by some Samoan scholars, namely Fofo Sunia, because he says that it's an improper word because it combines 2 words that should be separate on their own, and it's what you call. It's kind of a mispronunciation on the language, but it stands because we still use it. There's a bunch of different example of that as well, like alukako and things like that. Alukako, malakoia, another word that they use a lot. Like it has no real meaning, but because it's been used so often in the language, it's taken on a life of its own, even though it doesn't really add or subtract to the conversation. So avane. So now that we're avane, where is the avane going to? It says ile, which is directional, and then malo. What did we decipher that malo was again?
Good.
Good. Congratulations. Also means thank you. Sorry, go on. Quick. Hey, what are you guys doing? It was already a mess. Just go back in the little pocket. Well, you gotta look in the room. It's not outside. Sorry, guys. Anybody else figure out another meaning for malo besides congratulations and thank you? They talk about it a lot with what's going on in Apia these days.
Doesn't it mean like hard or difficult?
That would be malo. So malo is too long, like malo, but hard is malo. And I think hard is more for, what is hard for, babe? That's like for like bones, and it's like density. Bones and hard things like trees and things like that. But difficult is like fangata. Fangata, fangata, like there's all the actual, so ngata, G-A-T-A, so a long at the end. Usually it's a suffix that makes things hard. So if you have something that you want to buy is tau, tau. If something is expensive, it's hard to buy, it's tau ngata. If it's cheap, it's easy to buy, it's tau ngofie. They're two opposite suffixes, ngofie and ngata. But in the case of malo that we're looking at right now, this malo not only means congratulations and thank you, but it also has to do with the government. Malo America Samoa, the government of American Samoa, or malo o Samoa Sisifo, the government of Western Samoa, malo America, the American government, malo New Zealand, and so on and so forth. It also refers to what would you say, like fleets that are military regimes. So the malo of they have this thing called the fua o ainga i rechai malibaa o fonoti. Ba'a fonoti and the ba'a o na fanua. But they also talk about le malo or le tuifiti. Or malo le tuiviti. It's fiti in Samoan, but it's more appropriate to say viti because viti is the actual word. So when it refers to that, it's referring to like people who were in the regime of the Tuif, the Fijian king when he came to conquer other colonizers within Polynesia. When they came with their own regime, that would be the malo, Tuifiti malo, Tuitonga. So in this sentence right here, it's actually referring to the government. So does this make any sense right now? Because right now we're saying we have an agreement, take it to the government. Asan? Anybody understand that?
Like it's official.
Right, make it official. How do we make it official though?
Put the paperwork through.
Yeah, exactly. So they're talking about doing what?
Get married.
There you go. Talking about getting married. So this is a new thing in Samoa at the time when this song was made, right? You didn't get married previous to this song. The song was talking about a new thing where you have to actually go to the government to get your relationship solidified. So back in the day, this is something I learned from John Mayer. Is that back in the day when Samoans wanted to get married, you actually had to go, and this was back in the day with no cars as well. If you did have a car, you're very lucky. Not everybody had cars. You had to come back from the far back villages in Samoa, like we were talking about the different villages on the east and west sides of Tutuila, as well as the east and west sides of Apia. Had to walk all the way to Apia to get married. They had to give it to the government to get the okay, and actually had to take, I believe, a notice and nail it to a board that was somewhere in Apia to get it actually recognized. So it's an interesting piece of history that's hidden within this song, that was something that you had to do in order to get married back in those days. And of course, the next two lines, ele faya so uloto, ai tu ulo finangalo. It's got a little more simpler meaning. We spoke about lay, I believe, last week a little bit. And we said that lay, especially with the long e, is negative. So when we talk about faya, means we're not going to do this. So uloto, anybody knows what a loto is?
Does that mean not my will?
Yes, exactly. What part of that sentence is loto about?
Is it the will?
Yeah, loto is my will or what I want to do. Yes, exactly. Or what's in my heart is kind of what it points to. A loto is another way of saying heart. Patu is the physical heart itself, and then loto is like the spiritual heart.
Is that a name also?
I'm sorry?
Can that be used as a name?
Loto? Yes.
Yeah.
You can use any of these words as a name if you do it with the right understanding. You got people named Loto Leanga. Anybody know what Loto Leanga is?
Like their intentions are not good.
Yeah. That's, if you were to translate it directly, it comes out as that. But there's actually a direct translation to this word. It actually means something besides the general meaning of leanga, because leanga does mean bad. But loto leanga has its more prominent meaning is jealousy.
Is what?
Jealousy.
Oh,
when
okay.
you're jealous of someone else. Loto leanga o alale langa, yai langa whatever. So laifia aulo o kinge alale naki loto leanga. Loco leanga. So we won't, like, it's not up to me in the first line, ele faya so loto, it's not up to me. And then e tu'ulo finangalo. Notice how the word changes there. We go from loto to finangalo. Kind of talked about this a little bit before. Anybody remember the example of the two words that change when we're using respect language? We were talking about it in the, I believe we used the example that was in Faftaile tua, or in the prayer, when we were talking about the word suwafa. Remember suwafa? Yeah. What is so suwafa is the respect version. What is the normal peer version?
Ingoa.
Very good, Kainoa, Faftai. So we got Ingoa and Suwafa, peer and respect. Now, when you got Loto and Finangalo, it's the same, what do I want to say? Word is escaping right now because I'm thinking in two languages.
So Loto's like for regular and Finangalo is like with respect.
Yes,
That kind of?
exactly. Yeah. You got it. You understand what I mean. Sorry, I lost the English word. But yes, so Loto is for the peer, and then Finangalo is who you're showing respect to. Now, why is this person showing respect to the person he's singing this song to? Anybody know? Why would you use a respect word to refer to this?
Is it because he's talking about the government? Because he's saying
the government's actually the third party in this conversation.
Oh, because he's talking to the spouse.
Right. Well, it's not his spouse yet. What he's trying to do is woo. He's wooing whoever he's singing this song to. So he's saying, in other words, by using that respect language, it's kind of like being flirtatious. So there's a connotation to use it in which you're giving respect to, again, people of religious prominence, or people who are people who hold a place within the village government or the government. And then there's also a way of using it to impress women.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why Kaleponi heard this song, probably. So last line there, we notice how it says Ele faya so uloto. So not my will, but it says tu. That's another important word there. Anybody know what tu means? No, it's not thine. Thine would be like low. But thank you, Kaino. It's actually making a statement here by saying tu, that what he wants to do is not really important, but anything that you say will stand as, that's what's really important. Like your finangalo, your will, or I don't even know how you would translate finangalo to a stronger word than will, but your finangalo is more important than my will. That's what he's trying to say. But your decision will stand, whereas mine is just not worthy of anything, not worthy of any kind of consideration. He's using the word tu, which means to stand or to stay. It also means to leave. When you leave something behind, tu. Yeah, tu. Yeah, she's fine. No worries. I think we made some good progress with the song tonight. I know everybody's sounding great because we did a good practice with the pronunciations last week. Everybody reviewed the videos because I got a lot of responses. So I want to thank you all very much. I don't think we really have much to go over. We're supposed to do some videos to send out to everybody just so you guys have audio to listen to practice the songs as well as the pronunciation. And then we can further get back to that stuff when we come back again next week. And then we did study the colors. I was supposed to send out the slide that we made with the colors and the numbers this week, but we couldn't get to it with all the family issues that we had going on. So we're gonna cut it short tonight. It's 7:19. I want to thank you guys all for so much support, and I hope that our efforts here are useful for you guys, and that they, you know, I know we're all over here trying to learn Samoan, and I'm especially grateful for the opportunity to be here with everybody because it allows me to continue to learn through you guys. Us having this conversation not only helps me remember the things that I learned previously, but it also helps me to learn new things because we have to study new stuff in order to be able to share it with you guys and make sure that whenever you guys come to class, it's worth your time. So thank you all for being here. Thank you especially to Dara and to Wessa for making, to Dana and to Wessa for making this possible. And everybody who shows up every week. You guys are all awesome. Anybody else have anything you want to say before we ka'ape for our night?
I just want to say my heart goes out to both of you. Sending much alofas to you guys.
Thank
you.
All right, if we're all good, Dana, would you mind closing us out?
Hi. Okay, I will just. Okay. Heavenly Father, come to you in Jesus' name, Lord. We just thank you for this time, Lord, and we thank you for Mausia and Wessa for their time, Lord, that they give from, that takes away from their family but gives back to us in the community. I just appreciate everyone here for attending this class, and we just ask that you please watch over everyone in this week, Lord. Keep your hand upon us and just bless everyone and keep us safe and healthy, Lord. And just lift up those in prayer who have lost loved ones, Lord, and just bring them peace and comfort, and until we can come together again. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Okay, guys, Manuel Vayaso.
Yeah.
Labayaso.
Pasok po.